Hello. Hey! We're recording the podcast!
Never gets old. Good morning to you, wherever you are, because it is...
Morning Somewhere!
For September 20th, 2024. My name is Bernie Burns, sitting right over there. They don't call her the best impressionist in the business for nothing. It's Ashley Burns, everybody.
I'm pretty sure no one says that.
I wonder if people will know what that's from. Did we mention that? I think we used that drop in the test shows that we did before we launched this lovely podcast called Morning Somewhere. Thank you for joining us on Friday, everybody. But that was Ashley's on the spot. I asked her to do an imitation impression of Pikachu at an E3 showcase we did, and she came out with...
Hello.
Very, very accurate.
Hello. My favorite Pikachu line, hello. Hopefully we don't get sued by Nintendo for doing that uncanny impression.
Right, because they are certainly like warming up the legal engine. So Nintendo they released a statement earlier this week that they are officially suing Palworld. They filed a lawsuit on the 18th of September, so on Wednesday, that they're suing.
What a timely lawsuit.
I know, right? Maybe they just had to do a couple months research to make sure. But there's...
The funny thing is they announced the lawsuit by putting out a slowpoke meme. Hey guys, your game's like ours. Was it like 9 months ago that game came out?
Yeah, well, it came out it was either like end of January, early February, like that time frame. So yeah, it's been a little while. But the interesting thing about this particular lawsuit is they're not claiming like copyright infringement or anything like that. They're specifically claiming patent infringement. So in the statement that they put out on the 18th, they're saying this lawsuit seeks an injunction against infringement and compensation for damages on the grounds that Palworld, a game developed and released by the defendant, infringes multiple patent rights. They don't actually specify in the statement that they released what patents those are, and the Palworld developers have also put out a statement now saying that they're not aware of any patents that they might be infringing. So they're of course speaking to their lawyers and working to defend this.
You know, we had Becca Frazier on yesterday. Popular guest Becca Frazier returned to give us a full analysis and breakdown of how the Fed interest rates would affect home market prices. That's a joke. We were speculating wildly. So I wonder if Mark, former Patreon podcast guest, if he would come back on and put on his lawyer hat for us and tell us, like, I would think patent lawsuits would go faster. Like, this is a patent, like a trademark would be in the same category as a patent versus like copyright.
Possibly, but
like this,
also
this is like look, this is registered intellectual property. You already basically have a white paper on this. They're infringing.
Right,
Odd also that it took them so long to find out they were infringing on a patent.
Well, and it also...
Whatever it is.
It probably depends very much on like what the language of the patents are and so on. We do know it's possible to patent mechanics in video games. I think quite famously the Nemesis system in the like Shadow of Mordor games where the enemies, like you die... but then you develop like these grudge relationships with
great system
with specific enemies, like named enemies in the game. And if they kill you, they like go up in their social rankings and everything. And I think there's another patent as well.
It's also very unfortunate that was patented because that never appeared in any other game ever. And it was like, just license it to people because it's such a great fucking system.
It's a great system, but patenting something is also maybe one of the very few protections you can have against the genreization of, say, specific game modes and things like that. So, like, if PUBG had patented their gameplay or whatever, then
if they could,
then Epic couldn't necessarily come in and just make that mode and be like, oh no, it's a genre. Right?
Do you know I actually hold a patent? It's for a method of playing fighting games like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. Do you want to hear my patented move?
I would love to hear it.
Here it is. That's me. I invented that.
So, I don't know what they would have patented for Pokemon game mechanics, possibly like the Pokeball, like, capturing a monster in the Pokeball and like, so, whatever odds depending on the different Pokeball you use, or like if that affects the game, or like that kind of pattern, right? Like if they can get something specific enough like that, where yes, it's quite clear that Pal World used that mechanic as well, then they have grounds, right?
Here's what I'm going to imagine. Having played some Pokemon like Pokemon Go and being familiar with Pokemon in general and having played Pal World, I have a feeling the lawyer's going to show up with a folded piece of notebook paper, and when the judge opens it, it just says, "It's fucking Pokemon." That's what they're infringing on. They made fucking Pokemon, and they gave it a different name, and they collected money for it. I'm just going to guess. That's what that is.
Yeah, they added guns, and also it's like a base building survival game. Totally different.
100% different. And you also throw balls at little monsters that have abilities, and then you feed them and make them your pets and keep them.
Very
completely
different.
new. Our new take on it. It even begins with a P.
Also, potentially complicating this, at least as far as our legal understanding, is that this is filed in a Tokyo court. So they're going through the Japanese legal system, which means that
Where's Pal World? Is it China?
I'm not sure where Pal World is based, but the lawsuit is lodged in a Tokyo district court. So I think that they're going to have to go through that area.
Like, what do you do in that case? Like, remember the Pirate Bay, which was the big pirate site that was based in? Do you remember what country they were? Theoretically, it was a BitTorrent site, so it didn't really have a location.
Didn't it move around?
But the dudes were Swedish.
Okay.
I think when you talk about them moving around, I think at one point they tried to go to Sealand. There's like a country that people tried to establish that was based on a derelict oil derrick that had been abandoned, and someone thought, oh, we can turn this into a country with its own laws. Am I remembering that right? Sealand?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look that up, and if we can find some links, maybe we can put that in the link dump. But
I think it was Pirate Bay that got involved with it. But at the beginning of it all, they were based in Sweden, if I recall correctly, and their whole thing was, go ahead, sue us for copyright. We're not in your country. We don't have your laws. And they were thumbing their nose essentially at the entire movie industry.
I guess that's true. So, there
the entire
could also,
everything industry.
So it could also depend a little bit on where Pal World is operating. But as we know from things like the iPhone adopting USB-C because the EU required it, things happening in some markets can have a global impact, right?
From Wikipedia, the Principality of Sealand is a micronation on HM Fort Ruffs, also known as Ruffs Tower, an offshore platform in the North Sea. It's over by us. Not really. I'm looking at it. It's actually not too close to us. In the North Sea.
A great holiday destination.
It's on a sandbar located approximately 11 kilometers from the coast of Suffolk and 13 kilometers from the coast of Essex. Ruff Towers is a sea fort that was built by the British in international waters during World War II. It wasn't an oil derrick. I was incorrect. It was a fortress. Since 1967, the decommissioned tower has been occupied and claimed as a sovereign state by the family and associates of Paddy Roy Bates. Bates seized Ruff Towers from a group of pirate radio broadcasters in 1967 with the intention of setting up his own station there. Wow.
So this was like a long, esteemed historical pirate battlefield, basically. It's like they started with pirate radio, and now they were like, let's Pirate Bay.
I do love that. Like, people will go to the ends of the earth, literally invade other micronations, so that the rest of us can play a shitty version of Pokemon. It's just like, what are you fighting for here? What is this? And this sounds like a Netflix series in the making, in my opinion. Did you see that I sent you? Netflix did a data dump.
I did.
What a change of procedure for Netflix. When I was working with Netflix and we were licensing Red versus Blue and stuff to them, you couldn't get any information out of Netflix. And now they're now that there's all these streaming competitors, now they're all look how cool we are. And they do data dumps and update people with viewer numbers.
They're also kind of interesting because they do these sort of mass data dumps and then leave it for people to sift through and write their headlines, which at the moment are all holy moly, a lot of people watched the movie Damsel starring Millie Bobby Brown.
Did you watch that?
Absolutely, I watched
You did watch it. I remember that was on your list. But however,
it's a young lady fighting dragons. It's it takes the idea of, lady marries prince and,
damsel in distress.
Damsel in distress and so on. And it has, in my opinion, quite a bit of fun with it. But it's ultimately a kind of not survival horror, but like a survival action movie, just with the enemy that you're fighting is a dragon.
Right. This is a dragon battle. Can we call it a dragon battle movie?
Dragon battle movie.
Nintendo starts combing through your patents now. Another opportunity is on the horizon.
And
the movie was a while ago, though.
And the best part is, at the end of the movie, she just throws the ball and the dragon goes, Shoop.
And it's a totally different game. The dragon has a gun for some reason, an AK-47. Not really sure why. But if you're not familiar with the movie Damsel, and you're like me, like, I think I kind of sort of remember that. We had this whole discussion about there's too much media out there and you can't watch everything. So I constantly feel like I'm hearing about things and just adding to my backlog constantly. This Deadline article did not help that at all. These are the biggest movies on Netflix from the first half of this year. Coming in at number 1 was Damsel. 143 million people watched that. In second place is Lift, starring Kevin Hart. You watch that one?
Nope.
And Sam Worthington. 129 million people watched that. Coming in third was Society of Snow.
Nope, missed that one.
Under Paris, which is simply described as a contemporary shark movie.
As opposed to like dated shark movie?
Exactly.
This isn't a period piece?
Listen, this isn't your father's shark movie, Ashley. This is a skibbity shark. And then, oddly enough, coming in, like rounding out the top 5 is Brooke Shields' rom-com Mother of the Bride, which was watched by 77 million people.
Is this in the like Parent of the Brideverse, like cinematic universe? So there's the like all the like Father of the Bride, and then there was the Father of the Bride reboot, I think. And
it's
now they've got a Mother of the Bride.
Contemporary rom-com. After you watch your contemporary shark movie, you can. It almost seems to me when they say Brooke Shields' rom-com Mother of the Bride, even the name of the movie, it just sounds like a movie that they put on Netflix that they finally got the rights to from like 1987. Brooke Shields isn't a rom-com?
Well, look,
isn't Brooke Shields like 60?
Know. I don't know. We don't know that that's not the case, right? It just means that it's what was watched the most.
That's right. They don't really specify here, but I would assume they wouldn't be touting this if it was just some randomly licensed movie.
Look, weird things can happen with Netflix. Look at how crazy the show Suits went for a little while. For why? I don't know, because it was on there.
Brooke Shields is 59. She'll be 60 on May 31st of next year, so 2025. Mark your calendars, everybody. We're celebrating Brooke
and then
Shields.
we're gonna celebrate Brooke Shields Day, and we're gonna have a party, and we're all gonna text her happy birthday.
She looks fan-fucking-tastic. How do you look that good at 60? Is it just you got to stick with it every day? I feel like you skip a day, you're like losing a decade. Like you're literally like spending 3 hours a day on skincare just so that when you're 65, people go, not bad. Right? I mean, isn't that what the whole thing's for?
Yeah, everyone is always saying that it's the skin game here. This is the long game. All right, you're playing the long game. You got to be consistent for a decade, and then you'll be like, I guess the wrinkles could be deeper, but you're not going to know.
I feel like they didn't even invent sunscreen until I was like 28.
When we were young, people were rubbing butter on their bodies to like get that like good tan.
Right. We were watching like classic shark movies, not this contemporary shit. All this woke shark agenda.
And everyone's just spent their time basting themselves on the beach.
When do you think was the first time you heard of an SPF? Because they didn't even have sunscreen when I was a kid. They called it suntan lotion.
Right.
Which I think, if I remember correctly, was to amplify the effects of the sun.
Oh, yeah. You remember there was, for a while, they'd advertised like the like Hawaiian Tropic like tanning oil. And it's like they advertised it's got these little tiny mirrors to help reflect the sun into your skin even more.
I believe the phrase was millions of tiny prisms.
Oh, my mistake. Tiny prisms.
What does that mean? Were they throwing like asbestos and fiberglass insulation? What are the prisms?
Just rub it in real good.
What could that have been?
Crushed diamond.
Anyway, Brooke Shields looked great. I can't find anything about this rom-com, like what was it, Mother of the Bride?
Yeah, no idea. Looks like further in this article, popular non-original Netflix titles include the Super Mario Brothers movie, which clocked more than 80 million views. Minions took 72 million, and The Boss Baby did 63 million.
It's just kids. Make kids stuff, man, and you'll be in great shape forever. If you can get stuff that kids will watch, parents will totally put that on a loop if they can.
We will put that on for that kid every single day.
Boss Baby? We don't do that. We don't let our kids watch that.
We don't. But at the moment, I do have Finn watching Netflix has a kids series based on the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. And
Where did
so
that come from? Yeah,
It's
in the
basically,
rotation.
every now and again I get really tired of the things on repeat, and so I try and like throw a curveball. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes I regret it. But I was thinking this is basically Paw Patrol with dragons.
Yes,
And so we just need a little shift to the side and get something fresh.
but it doesn't have like that, allegiance to our militarized police force, right? You can feel safe about it. You're not turning him into like a super patriot.
I love in Paw Patrol the cop dog also has like an alternate version where he's like a spy.
Okay.
And he's got drones and stuff.
So while we're talking about movies and media and stuff, we had a conversation today about what was the most spoiled movie of all time. Someone also said that there was another Charlton Heston movie. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't give credit, but you were brilliant. The Planet of the Apes, with the ending of that was the most spoiled because it was the ending bit. But I was thinking like the Soylent Green one that's like in it. You mentioned Rosebud, right?
Right.
That Rosebud is a sled, and everybody knows that's a spoiler. Can I put you on the spot?
You may.
What movie is that?
Citizen Kane.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
Wow.
I was listening back to the podcast, and I was wondering if like you could know the spoiler, but not necessarily know what the movie is.
I guess
right?
that's true.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Citizen Kane?
Yes, I watched it in school.
Oh,
I can't tell you almost anything about it, but yes, I did watch it in school. That might have been a wonderful nap opportunity, actually.
Yeah, no, it is like it inspired, generations of movies after it, but then most people will go back and watch the original inspiration, like, what,
Yeah,
like after you've seen a contemporary shark movie. You can't go back.
No, I've been really into the sort of contemporary sled genre, and so sometimes the classics feel derivative when you go backwards.
Right. You like go back and watch Jaws, and you're like, where's the fucking shark with the fucking, slick moves? It's like it didn't have it. It didn't even appear in the movie. Like 3/4 of the movie, Jaws isn't even there, for God's sake.
You barely even see him.
You barely even see him. You barely even see Jaws.
What's the point?
You know why that is, though, right?
Because it was a practical effect and they couldn't get it working.
It just didn't fucking work.
Yeah.
And so Spielberg, I think in his own words, what did he say? He said, because the shark didn't work, instead of being Roger Corman, I seemed more like Alfred Hitchcock. Like he credits the shark not working with giving him and it was going to be a bomb. It was a movie where Jaws was so over budget and everything like that everyone was talking about it's going to be this enormous bomb, and they put it out in the summer when nobody would go watch movies, and then it completely changed the landscape of how movies are released, and it became the first ever summer blockbuster. That was Jaws that did that.
Right. For some reason I was thinking that was the movie bet that that George Lucas had, but it wasn't, right? That was Close Encounters.
Movie bet? What's the movie bet?
Yes, where it was Spielberg and George Lucas sort of like bet each other that their movie would do better. And so somehow I think Spielberg ended up with 2.5% of the gross box office returns for Star Wars as part of this bet.
Well, there's a novel that was written about filmmaking of that era called Easy Riders, Raging Bulls, and they talked about like even Coppola was in there, who we've been recently talking about because of his epic movie that's coming out, and they had to pull back the trailer that they put out from it because it was made up quotes.
Yeah, it had like AI generated
AI.
Quotes that didn't exist,
and a knockoff Pikachu for some reason. Not really sure why that was the case, but they're just if you can believe this book, it's like somebody who was covering the scene at the time, I think that wrote the book. But they talked about how they would trade points, and then Star Wars ended up doing so well that Lucas actually went back and said, I'm taking back my percentage points.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's according to the book. I read it years ago, but if memory serves, that was the allegation that he went and took his points back.
Yeah, because that would have been worth, what was it? I think
they all did fine. They were all fine.
Yeah, Spielberg's okay. He's gonna be okay.
I don't know what it was, but adjusted for inflation, I think it was $80 trillion or something. however, Star Wars was the last time any movie was profitable in Hollywood, essentially, according to Hollywood accounting.
Except that, of course, Star Wars was not in any way profitable, according to Hollywood accounting.
I think Return of the Jedi was when they first started like, hey, we can like load these things up with depreciation till the end of time, and we can make sure these things are never seen as profitable. I think Return of the Jedi was the first one of the series where they said, yeah, we didn't make any money on Return of the fucking Jedi.
We're just going to saddle it with Pal World's debt.
There's a lot of lawyers, guys.
All right. Well, we are going to go spend some time with our friends and enjoy the day, enjoy the weekend. So before
Maybe
we go,
we're going on a little trip and we're going to get on a plane. Is it okay to say that, Ashley?
I think it's okay to say that we're going just on a little mini trip with our friends.
Let me tell you something.
Show them around.
Let me tell you something. We've been a little lighthearted today, but I want to end on something here. This is like, all the stories about everything going on with these crazy like infiltration of supply chains and this like covert op that was done, been highly credited to Israel, so I feel safe in saying that. Lebanon, totally makes sense. They have now banned all electronic devices on any flight in and out of Lebanon, which totally makes sense why they would do that. But get ready, because now in like 2 months, when you can't bring anything on a goddamn plane, watch out. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, like, because look at, you get like one guy trying to do like a shoe bomb and now everyone takes off their shoes at the airport. This is going to absolutely have knock-on effects.
The theater of security surrounding aviation is often very reactionary. Like, they don't look ahead. Whatever the last threat was, that's all we react to for the next 3 years until the next thing happens, and then we react to that.
And I mean, look, I have already get a lot of side eye from the security guys as I start unloading my backpack. And I'm like, here is the laptop. Here's the Steam Deck. Here's the Switch. Here is my Kindle. Here is the battery pack just in case. I don't know. I need some battery.
Here's my 8 liters of skincare products. And I'm just in the background saying, look, she's looking for when she's 65. Someone goes, not bad. Pretty good.
Working really hard.
It's like 12 hours a day, but that's compliment. It's going to pay off. 60 years from now, she's going to be glowing. She's going to be happy about it.
I'm going to wear one of those like red light masks through the airport. So
travel days are fun days.
Given the side eye I already get for the ridiculous amount of electronics that I take in the utter terror that I might be possibly bored for a couple of minutes at some point in my travels, this is going to be bad for me.
My weird thing is, like, I guess you could call it my gray flag, is when I go back to the U.S., I bring stuff over in check bags, which means I go there with 2 empty check bags. When you go to check 2 empty bags, there's nothing wrong with that at all, yet somehow there is. Like, they pick up the bags and like, there's nothing in these. It's like, yeah. And it's such a weird, awkward thing, and yet there's nothing wrong with it.
It's like, it's perfectly legal.
Right.
It's just weird.
But is it? It isn't. Somebody get Nintendo's lawyers on the phone and see if they have a patent on weird behavior with empty suitcases, and we'll find out. All right.
It depends on what you're trying to stuff in those suitcases to come back. All right, before we go, I want to say a thank you to our sponsors for this episode, Seth Thiel and Melenry Figueroa. Thank you both so much for sponsoring this episode of our show at patreon.com/morningsomewhere.
Yes, you two are the empty check bags in our international flight of life.
And we mean that in the best way possible.
Absolutely we do. Very useful. Thank you very much. All right, well, that does it for this week, ending September 20th, 2024. We will be back to talk to you on Monday. We hope you will be here as well.
Bye, everybody.